Now Giant Despair had a wife, and her name was Diffidence. So when he was gone to bed, he told his wife what he had done, to wit, that he had taken a couple of prisoners or 2 prisoners, and cast them or thrown them into his dungeon or prison for trespassing on his grounds. Then he asked her also what he had best do further to them. So she asked him what they were, whence they came, and whither they were bound or tied up. And he told her. Then she counselled him or advised him that when he arose in the morning, he should beat them without mercy. We see here that Diffidence is more creative in causing the prisoners to suffer. The giant obeyed her, and when he arose the next day, he getteth him a grievous crab-tree cudgel. A cudgel is a stout, thick stick. And he goes down into the dungeon or prison, and there first falls to rating of them as if they were dogs. He treated them as if they were dogs, although they never gave him a word of distaste. Then he fell upon them and beat them fearfully, in such sort that they were not able to help themselves, or even to turn from one side to the other on the floor. This done, he withdraws and leaves them there to condole their misery and to mourn under their distress. So all that day they spent their time in nothing but sighs and bitter lamentations. The next night she, talking with her husband further about them, and understanding that they were yet alive, did advise him to counsel them to make away with themselves. To make away with themselves means to kill themselves. She advised her husband to go to them and to give them the suggestion that they should kill themselves. So when morning was come, he goes to them in a surly manner as before, and perceiving them to be very sore with the stripes or beatings that he had given them the day before, he told them that since they were never like to come out of that place, their only way would be forthwith to make an end of themselves. Giant Despair suggested that they should kill themselves either with knife or halter, that means rope, or poison. For why, said he, should you choose to live, seeing it is attended with so much bitterness? But they desired him to let him go. With that he looked ugly upon them, and rushing to them, had doubtless made an end of them himself, but that he fell into one of his fits, for he sometimes in sunshiny weather or in hot weather fell into fits, and lost for a time the use of his hands, wherefore he withdrew and left them as before to consider or to think what to do. Then did the prisoners consult between themselves whether it was best to take his counsel or advice or no, and thus they began to discourse again. We see here that Giant Despair and his wife belong to the dark side. They are not satisfied with just starving the prisoners. They beat them up. They also presented to them the temptation of suicide. They wanted to destroy both the body and the soul of the pilgrims. The 2 pilgrims, Christian and Hopeful, began talking. Christian said, "Brother, what shall we do? The life that we now lead is miserable. For my part, I know not whether it is best to live thus or to die out of hand. My soul chooseth strangling rather than life, and the grave is more easy for me than this dungeon. Shall we be ruled by the giant, or shall we obey the giant and take his suggestion?"